Tonight, Iran's retaliation has begun, responding to Israel's sweeping attack by raining down missiles on Tel Aviv.
World War III is here and America are set to get involved. Is that what you voted for? Hello, you Awakening Wonders. Remember, we stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on Rumble at these times. Join Rumble Premium if you can. It helps us when you do that financially as well as spiritually, because it gives me a real boost. And who among us doesn't need a boost as we stand on the precipice of a conflict that could bring about the destruction of our entire planet? Of course, this is a conflict that reaches back across our history and in some ways defines it. When I say history, I mean all of those that are part of Abrahamic faiths, all of those that come from Western colonial powers that participated in the dividing and establishment of new Middle Eastern nations, all of us that have an opinion on Israel, all of us that have an opinion on Gaza. So essentially, that's all of us. Here's some legacy media reporting on this latest outbreak of war in that region, but specifically the conflict and escalating conflict between Iran and Israel, as well as an article written by Tucker Carlson, who along with Trump, Bobby Kennedy and Elon Musk, it has to be one of the key symbols of this new American political moment. I suppose the question that Tucker Carlson is asking of his president, is this the America First ideology under which MAGA was swept into power? Let me know what you think about that in the comments and chat. Let's have a look at some legacy media reporting.
Tonight, Iran's retaliation has begun, responding to Israel's sweeping attack by raining down missiles on Tel Aviv, fireballs seen across the skyline, and buildings in flames. Israel in a state of emergency as Israelis gather in shelters. Explosions heard in the skies above Tel Aviv and Jerusalem as Israel's air defense systems intercept Iranian rockets. The IDF releasing this video, they say, shows the interception of an Iranian drone. But as this video posted online shows, some Iranian missiles still making it through to Israel, smashing into buildings. And tonight, we are learning the United States is now helping Israel defend itself. American officials telling us the U.S. also shooting down missiles targeting Israel. Israel had long telegraphed its intentions to strike Iran.
I suppose the spiritual question we could all ask ourselves and one another is it possible for us to have a general benevolence and prayerful heart of compassion and mercy towards everyone involved in this conflict, the people of Gaza, the people of Iran and the people of Israel? Is it possible even to cultivate that? Or is this going to be a conflict that by its very nature involves and seduces all of us into taking a side at some point, amplifying and increasing vitriol and hostile rhetoric until the world is naught but conflict and combat? There's no question that Tucker Carlson's reporting and advocacy during the campaign period was hugely beneficial to Donald Trump. He was prominent at a lot of MAGA events and even the RNC. And on numerous occasions, it seemed like Tucker Carlson's support was really significant. The reason I suppose I have a particular affection for him is because I know him to be a man of integrity and depth and decency, and because I believe whilst he has very particular and specific political views, they're undergirded by a spiritual position that means that even if you had a vastly differing view from him, you would find points of alliance. Tucker Carlson has always spoken about, for example, Jeremy Corbyn in the UK as a person of political integrity with whom he disagrees on many subjects. Probably not, though, on the nature of this conflict. Let's get into Tucker Carlson's article. Israel launched its long-awaited attack on Iran last night, bombarding the Islamic Republic with dozens of missiles and striking its top nuclear facility and at least 5 military bases. The assault reportedly killed Iranian Revolutionary Guard commander Hossein Salami and other top military leaders, and Israel believes other officials and nuclear scientists also perished. The episode came just days after White House envoy Steve Witkoff warned that Iran could unleash a mass casualty response if Israelis bombed its nuclear facilities. Earlier this week, unnamed Washington sources expressed concerns over Israel's ability to fend off Iran's retaliation, which could inevitably lead to Benjamin Netanyahu ordering the American military to step in and fight on his country's behalf. Tehran launched its first counterstrike last night, firing over 100 rockets at its attacker within hours of the initial assault. On Thursday, Iran's president threatened to destroy any country that eliminates his government's nuclear facilities. Now the world will look what that looks like. Secretary of State Marco Rubio insisted the United States played no role in Israel's attacks on Iran on Thursday, describing the campaign as unilateral action, saying we're not involved in strikes against Iran, and adding that our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Elsewhere, you may have seen Tim Dillon making an now popular refrain that I suppose entered my imagination when it was Muhammad Ali, probably then Cassius Clay, saying, I ain't got no beef with the Viet Cong. When you sense that your nation is getting dragged into wars and conflict that in the end means boots on the ground and blood on the sidewalk for people that ultimately don't benefit from these wars, and if we don't continue to believe in the sovereignty of our own nations and that the sovereign nations' goals align with the goals of their population, then all of us perhaps will start to consider, hey, what are these systems founded upon? Is the nation state an economic entity that uses as its veil and garment patriotism and the supposed support of a whole population, while in fact, neath its petticoats is a squirming hermaphrodite set of genitalia, effing itself perennially in a cycle of fecundity and self-service. Forgive the image, but I'm beginning to think that global imperialism, whether it's in its right-wing format or left-wing format, amounts to self-service and different relationships between corporate commercial entities and state entities, and there's no business like war for bringing those two things together. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments and chat. And while the American military may not physically perpetuate the assault, years of funding and sending weapons to Israel, which Donald Trump just bragged about on Truth Social, undeniably placed the US at the center of last night's events. Washington knew these attacks would happen. They aided Israel in carrying them out. Politicians purporting to be American first can't now credibly turn around and say they had nothing to do with it. Our country is in deep. Donald Trump admitted he had prior knowledge about Israel's attack on Iran on Thursday, telling Brett Baier he knew of the Netanyahu government's plan to conduct the preemptive strikes and that the assault came as no surprise. Despite being complicit in the act of war, the president hopes last night's events will help his ongoing nuclear negotiations with Iran. Steve Witkoff was scheduled to participate in the next round of talks on Sunday, but whether that will still happen is up in the air. Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb, and we're hoping to get back to the negotiating table. We will see. There are several people in leadership in Iran that will not be coming back, Trump said following the strikes. The idea that Iran have or are developing a nuclear capacity has been an ongoing narrative for pretty much all of my life, actually. And the broader argument about who is entitled to have nuclear weapons, i.e. who's entitled to have the power to destroy other nations, is an interesting global conversation. What is a rogue state? What is a criminal state? What is a genocide? Who's allowed nuclear weapons and who isn't allowed to have nuclear weapons? And how do you justify that if there is no supreme moral authority? And if we don't come up with a way of acknowledging that there might be distinct, discrete, and even opposing national authorities, it looks like there's a kind of inevitability to ongoing global war. Certainly that's what's happening right now. It seems that sadly our technological ability and military capacity is not being matched by an ongoing spiritual evolution or advancement that might mean that we are able to handle such power. This apparent contradiction, I suppose, is nothing of the sort, because if you were awakened, wouldn't you lay down your arms? Let me know in the comments and chat. If you were awakened, would you not seek diplomatic solutions globally? If you were awakened, wouldn't you be willing to sacrifice absolutely everything in order to ensure peace? I don't know. Free speech is under attack, Jack, but Rumble refuses to take it lying down. Rumble is farting out the fierce cock of authoritarianism and clamping shut the butt cheeks of free speech, baby. When major advertisers conspired to pull their dollary dues, even brands like Dunkin' Donuts turned their back, claiming Rumble had a right-wing culture. But we're not here to fit a mold. We're here to defend free expression. Content from creators like Russell Brand. Yo, I'm that dude. Dr. Disrespect, Tim Cast, and the Mug Club with Crowder. It's more than a subscription, it's a stand for free speech. Your voice matters. For a limited time, you can get $10 off an annual plan using the Rumble code BRAND. Visit rumble.com/premium/brand and claim your discount today. Together we can turn the tide, whether you join Rumble Premium or simply keep watching. Your support helps keep free speech alive, and with free speech, we can be free together. Subscribe to Rumble now. It's worth taking a step back and wondering how any of this helps the United States. We can't think of a single way. From this day forward, it's going to be America first, America first. That's a direct quote from Donald Trump's first inaugural address, and it's the same sentiment that thrust him back into the White House in January. Now the world will find out if he really meant it. Now that Benjamin Netanyahu and his war-hungry government have executed their long-awaited assault on Iran, the president faces a legacy-altering decision to support or not to support. We'd like to take this opportunity to state our position as clearly as possible. The United States should not at any level participate in a war war with Iran. No funding, no American weapons or troops on the ground. Regardless of what our special ally says, a fight with the Iranians has nothing to offer the United States. It's not in our national interest. If Israel wants to wage this war, it has every right to do so. It's a sovereign country and it can do as it pleases, but not with America's backing. At an absolute minimum, the United States continuing to insert itself in this conflict will further whip up the radical Islamic world's hatred for the West and fuel the next generation of terrorism. The worst case, thousands of immediate American deaths, all in the name of a foreign agenda that has nothing to do with our country. It goes without saying that neither of those possibilities would be beneficial for the United States. But there is another option. Drop Israel. Let them fight their own wars. No matter how many bogus anti-Semitism allegations neocon ghouls like Mark Levin hurl at Americans who advocate for that path, opposing destroying the United States in the name of the Netanyahu government has nothing to do with Israel. It's about America. We reject the idea of involving the US in an Israeli war for the same reason we would stand against doing the same thing on behalf of Eritrea, Suriname, Cambodia, or any other random country you could close your eyes and point out on a map. It is not America's fight. Engaging in it would be a middle finger in the faces of millions of voters who cast their ballots in hopes of creating a government that would finally put the United States first. What happens next will define the Trump presidency. He accompanied that with a short post that put his position, I suppose, in more succinct terms, and it's a perspective that will chime with many of our viewers, I'm sure. There are few of us that want to educate ourselves on geopolitics to the necessary and complex degree that would require a delicate understanding of events in Gaza, the rights of Israel to be a sovereign state, the relationships between Arab nations established in the post-Second World War era. In fact, as many people have observed, the priorities of most of us pertain to our own families, our own lives, our own friends, our own dramas, our own spirituality, our own crises. Who among us now can handle the complexity of this millennia-deep ongoing conflict between branches of the Abrahamic faith and territories in the Middle East? Let me know in the comments and chat if one of the things that excited you most about Donald Trump was the idea that he would quickly resolve the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, that war in the Middle East would be prevented, that the military-industrial complex and their ongoing needs for corpses and territories to bomb would be second to the requirements of the American people. Who, watching this, found that an appealing prospect? Who's got the time or the bandwidth to continue to accommodate escalating wars, whether it's between Russia and Ukraine or Israel and their opponents in the Middle East? Is it possible for us to find a position where we're able to respect people's religious faith and national identity without being endlessly immersed in unending and unwinnable conflicts? If America is to have a role on the global stage, I'm sure many of us would prefer that it was a peacekeeping and diplomatic one, and not one that tended towards increasing war, increasing profits for the sorts of interests that many Americans oppose above all else. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and the chat? Remember, you can join us as we stream live on Monday, and please subscribe to our channels there to get access to Unpacked, when we come offline and take a deeper look at the news of the day. Join us over on Rumble. In the meantime, if you can, stay free.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.